Hello, BookTube. I've got a little Monday MegaStuff video for you here, a video where I group together a whole bunch of little things that would otherwise make tedious videos on their own into one great big tedious video. I have to apologize for the crepuscular lighting here. It's been dark, heavy gray clouds all day long here today. So dark, so heavy that at midday we have lights on. And all of it without the aesthetic release of rain. Massachusetts is in a worse than a century drought. It simply does not rain here anymore, except as rare conversation-starting events. A whole bunch of rain is forecast for this week. I would be willing to bet from the charts and data that I'm seeing that none of it actually happens. Although it is coming close. New York has had some rain. But one way or another, it's been a somber day, and it's reflected in this video because this is, believe it or not, the best I can do with light. The whole of the window is open. The whole of my advanced lighting technology here, where I use a box set of Isaac Asimov's Foundation trilogy to move the curtain. It's all on me, and I'm still in shadow. I started this video just a second ago and was interrupted by what I guess becomes our first piece of MegaStuff, which was an alert that went out to all cell phones everywhere from Massachusetts about COVID. I guess saying that it's really bad. Okay, thanks. I knew that already. And I'd love to know the rationale behind the fact that you can put out annoying bulletins to my phone, but this particular iPhone can't call out to you or anybody else. I had to get a burner phone to do that. I'd love to know how that works. But anyway, so let's go through just a few MegaStuff things. First one of which is that I have a brief Mailboy update. I have been giving you Mailboy updates. My new mail carrier this summer was a very young man, very nice, outgoing, heart-stoppingly gorgeous young man, and then he disappeared for a while, and the rumor was confirmed that he was out of work because he was isolating because of COVID-19. And then I learned that he's not just isolating for the fear of it, he actually has it. He's developed symptoms. But he is now back on the job. I still haven't had a chance to talk to him, but I saw him across the street earlier today and called out, are you okay? And he said, yeah, he's okay. So I imagine I'll get the whole lowdown eventually. And then another ongoing Preptober drama is just that. It's the month of October, which is when we prepare for NaNoWriMo, National Novel Writing Month, in November. And we have gone through the whole Wagner opera cycle here on this channel of my own Preptober. I had an idea, Kendra Victrix, a science fiction idea. I liked it just fine. Then another idea came to my mind, At the Elliott Annex, and I liked that too. Neither one of them were whims. Both of them were workable. And I decided to go with Kendra Victrix, and then it went off the rails. And suddenly all the air went out of it. I had no desire to write it at all, and my mind was just whirring with possibilities, with no time left at all. It's Monday, for Pete's sake. November is right around the corner. So for the weekend, I decided that I would zen, and that I would clear my mind of all thoughts to do with Preptober, and that once I resumed thinking about Preptober, maybe that interval of clarity will have pointed the way. So I resumed thinking about Preptober this morning, and it was still a whirlwind of chaos. It didn't help at all. It didn't help at all. I have no idea what I'm going to do. I went so far as to Google whether or not fan fiction was acceptable for NaNoWriMo. It is. It is acceptable. It's looked down upon by NaNoWriMo purists because, as many of them say on the forums, you're not doing all the heavy lifting. Someone's done that first. Someone has created a world and given it internal consistency, or some internal consistency. Even someone has come up with character names. All you're doing is moving pieces around that someone else carved out of balsam. There's a sting to that, and the sting comes from the fact that it is true. Whenever I reach an impasse like this, I always think about some epic work of fan fiction. Specifically, a gigantic Legion of Superheroes fan fiction story that I have always wanted to write. Just a revamping of the Legion of Superheroes and a great epic adventure of theirs. But those points on the forum are right. They may have been written in a snotty way, but they are right. Fan fiction is probably as close as you could come ethically to a cheat on NaNoWriMo. So I think that's out. unless it comes to a choice between that and not doing NaNoWriMo at all. I love the community feeling of NaNoWriMo too much to miss it. So I'm gonna put that way on a back burner, and instead I don't know. I will devote a couple of hours tonight to figuring out, are there alternatives? I will look at a roster of other ideas that I have, ideas that didn't seem to me as substantial as either Kendra Victrix or At the Elliot Annex. Maybe one of those. And a lot of you have been asking me, well, if Kendra Victrix isn't doing it for you, why not just write At the Elliot Annex? And I'm worried I'm going to have the same process. The answer is that I'm worried that I'm going to get 4 or 5 days down the line, which is all the time that I have left, and then it's going to go off the rails as well. And I bet I can guess why. If Kendra Victrix went off the rails for a combination of me worrying that it was a Mary Sue story and me worrying that it was a MacGuffin story, then At the Elliot Annex would go off the rails for the same kinds of reasons. I would feel like it was fan service, insider baseball about a particular world, a particular place, a particular kind of people that I know, that I don't have any reason to think I can make dramatically compelling to anybody else. In other words, that there's no real story there. And I don't want to get married to it, start working on it. It require a lot more groundwork than Kendra Victrix did. And then have that happen. So I've been thinking of picking another idea, just another idea wholesale. But I don't know what that is. I will devote a little more time to it tonight. I am definitely doing NaNoWriMo. Absolutely doing NaNoWriMo. I will figure out a way, come heck or high water. And then another bit of MegaStuff involved a call to action. I never do calls to action on this channel. All my YouTuber friends say, you should, dude. You have to do calls to action. Otherwise, your readers don't feel involved. You people feel plenty involved. So I don't have to worry about that. But a call, for those who aren't up on the lingo, in the YouTube world, the world of fake, monetized YouTubers, a call to action is when you ask your viewers to do something. Preferably, you want 5 or 6 calls to action in the course of one video, spaced out fairly evenly, except for the first 2, which should happen right in the first minute of the video. And those are, say them with me now, subscribe and click the notification bell. I've never done anything like that. The calls to action that I do on this channel are all just for our communal fun. They're not ever for the benefit of my channel. And the last one that I did was the idea of Mark Richardson of Richardson Reads, who a lot of you will subscribe to. He is the library director of a little library in Vermont. And he suggested, what you did a month ago, asking people to send you pictures of their dogs. What if you asked people to send you pictures of their libraries? So I did. I did a call to action on this channel. I could call to action from the top of the temple about filling the coffers of my Patreon, and none of you would pay any attention at all. But I did a call to action about showing me your libraries. Send me pictures and stories of your libraries. The ones that you loved, the ones that you went to every day, the ones that maybe are closed or have COVID-warped visiting practices. And I was expecting a flood of pictures. I got a lot of pictures, but I believe that the Show Me Your Library call to action, I may not have thought it through completely, because what I'm getting is heartbreaking. Really, it's the wrong time. If I wanted to do a call to action where I show me your libraries, I should have done it 2 years ago. Now, almost everything that I'm getting is just heartbreaking. Heartbreaking stories about how I loved it. I knew everyone there. I knew every inch of the stacks. I lived there. It took such a burden off my book buying budget, and it's not open. Or it's open and it shouldn't be. It's open because my county is being stupid about COVID restrictions. So I don't know that call to action went well. It seems that I should have anticipated it, that talking about our libraries in 2020 is naturally melancholy. so that's another little MegaStuff bit, is that didn't go particularly well. And then we can talk about mail. I have a bunch of mail. And one thing I have is the Vineyard Gazette, the Martha's Vineyard Gazette, a broadsheet newspaper from the island off the coast of Massachusetts, Martha's Vineyard, that I just love and also have the privilege to write for. I have a review that is overdue, I think, for them. And like most people, when I get the Vineyard Gazette in the mail, I turn right to the back. The very back page is 3 columns. You can make that out there. It's all outdoors, bird news, and of course the Vineyard Gardener. Most people who, especially vineyarders who get the Gazette in the mail, turn right to the back first, and then they wander around on the inside, look at the news, the obituaries, and whatnot. And the columns are wonderful. They're wonderful and chatty. They always have very good original photography, especially the birds can be very interesting to know what people are actually seeing. But they have a decidedly small town tone to them, and I wanted to give you an example of that. The first line of the Vineyard Gardener for this issue will stand in for all Vineyard Gardener columns and most all other Vineyard columns. The first line of this one is, "As I often do, I need to complain about last weekend's wind." So those of you who have a small town original newspaper, something that doesn't just run ads and classifieds and whatnot, but that actually has original content, you will know the absolute charm of such things. The Vineyard Gazette I consider to be kind of my hometown newspaper. I've spent endless amounts of time on the Vineyard, including on days like this and days coming like this. I have wintered in the Vineyard long before it was modernized, when wintering at the Vineyard required quite a bit of forbearance. It doesn't anymore, but once upon a time it did. Once upon a time the ferry slowed and then stopped, and you were stuck on an island in the middle of winter, and the storms were worse then. So, but I got the Vineyard Gazette. I wanted to just give you. I always like to sing its praises, as I often do. I have to complain about last week's win. Another thing I got in the mail was a checky poo. Fixture of the freelance writer's life. I'd imagine that it happens to a lot of them. Is that a lot, especially if they're as careless with money as I am. I'm terrible with money. Is that I sometimes forget that I have a checky poo coming, and this was a big one. Ordinarily, the size would mean that I wouldn't forget it, but I did. I completely forgot. It was from early in the summer. I paid it no mind whatsoever. And I got to thinking, when I looked at it, I thought, first of all, okay, it's a check, so you need to endorse it and then walk it to a bank. I mean, that's a little bit annoying, but it's a lot less annoying than the online rigmarole of trying to get electronic payment from a place like that. That turned out to be such a headache that I just abandoned it in favor of just send a check to this address. But when I saw it, I mean, it wasn't $100 or $200 where it's something you're just going to toss in the bank. I have a little bank account. You're just going to toss it in the little bank, the liquid bank account. You're just going to toss it in there and not think about it. It was big enough so that I saw it, and for a minute I thought, ooh. And then I had an amazing revelation, because ordinarily in the last 10 years, if I'd had a little checky poo like that was not in the budget is fine, it was totally forgotten, I would immediately have started thinking tech. If you've watched this channel even recently, you would know that I would immediately start thinking tech. What kind of tech can I get? And despite the fact that I love to do that, I love to buy older tech or used tech and see what I can do with it, I did recently have a desire to invest in one device to rule them all. One piece of tech that didn't need to fill storage cabinets and that didn't need a tangle of wires. One piece of technology that I could use for everything. And if you've been watching this channel, you know I did a lot of research, and then I decided to pay money for 2019 iPad, 10-inch iPad. And to add extra for the smart keyboard that has the lightning prongs that are where it draws power directly from the iPad. It's not a Bluetooth keyboard. And this iPad is called entry level. It's just called iPad. People call it the 8th generation, but Apple itself only refers to it as simply the iPad. It's the entry level iPad. It's still hundreds and hundreds of dollars, but it's not nearly as expensive. It's not $1,000 like the iPad Pro or whatnot. And the iPad Pro has this dedicated smart keyboard, but one of the upgrades to this 2019 iPad is that it can also take that keyboard. So I decided in for a penny, in for a pound, and I bought the keyboard as well. The only item that I didn't really get was the Apple Pencil, which does work on this machine, but I didn't see myself using it. I don't like writing analog. I like typing, and I draw with pencil on paper every night. I can't imagine shifting that to an iPad. I just can't imagine it. So I didn't get that, but I got the iPad and the cover, and I got it with a huge amount of internal storage, so that I wouldn't have to worry about that. I wouldn't be bumping my head against what I can and cannot download. And since it's not my first iPad. I decided to call it 7 of 9. And this is the device. And slowly but surely, over time, I have been adding more and more functionality to this device. Typing freelance work, writing reviews, of course, it's made to be a media consumption device, and it does that just fine. But downloading all sorts of YouTube studios so that I can deal with these videos without needing to go to my laptop. And actually, the goal here is to there's my latest background, is a Nick Cardy cover for a Legion of Superheroes issue. I don't know if you can make that out. Let's see if we can get the lighting to behave. No, can we get the lighting to behave? What about over here? No. Oh, there we go. Right, that was a little better. For just a second, that was a little better. How are we going to do this? How are we going to do this? Well, anyway, that is the cover here, Nick Cardy's cover. You can't really make it out all that well, but it's Superboy has gone insane, and his fellow Legionnaire Mon-El is being slammed against a pylon. That fellow in the green tights there is Ultra Boy, who's been smashed into the pavement. And there you have 2 legions running away. 2 Legionnaires are running away because, help, Superboy has gone mad. And the cover, I mean, Nick Cardy, I love him. I love his covers. Bless his hack's heart. The cover doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Mon-El is at least as powerful as Superboy. You wouldn't be screaming in panic. And Ultra Boy could probably hold up. He is Superboy strong. He could probably hold up a little bit longer than being pounded into the pavement. And also, the 2 Legionnaires who are running away, Phantom Girl is from another dimension and can turn intangible. Superboy can't affect her in any way. She wouldn't run, in other words, from him. She's one of the only Legionnaires who wouldn't have to run from him. And the kid in pink in the background is Cosmic Boy, who has complete control over metals, which means that he could make that pylon and all these other buildings in the background attack Superboy or wrap themselves around him. But it also means that he could latch onto the iron in Superboy's head or his hair or his blood and do all sorts of interesting things with that. They wouldn't run, is what I'm saying. But this is, I refer to this iPad as 7 of 9. It's got the smart keyboard that attaches with magnets, and then you can origami fold it. And this is the keyboard right there. And this particular keyboard, as you can see, has no trackpad, and it also has it's fabric skin. There's no gap between the keys and the panel at all. It's all one thing, and that is, I have watched many Tech Dude channels about this specific iPad keyboard combination, and the way they sniffingly refer to it as, what are you going to get for the money? It's the best you can do for the money, I guess. And they sometimes refer to the typing experience as terrible, and that is just flat wrong. I've had many typing experiences on many keyboards going back many decades, and this is by far the best. I love it. Absolutely love it. And the reason I bring it up is because when I looked at that Checky Poo today, for the first time ever, that impulse, the reflex to think immediately about tech, was not there. It just was not there. I have the tech I want. This and my iPhone, and every once in a while my MacBook Air. I saw that essentially free money and thought, no, not really. No, not really. So I am going to be responsible with that money. I've decided, well, hello, baby. How you doing? Oh, you're a MegaStuff if anything counts, aren't you? Oh. Hello, baby. Nice to be. Oh. She's been in suspended animation all day long. She doesn't. If there's bright sunlight, then she's up for anything. But on a day like today, it has been as dark as twilight all day long. Even when the sun was high in the sky, you couldn't tell. But anyway, I've decided that what I'm going to do with that Checky Poo instead, I will be responsible with 2/3 of it. 2/3 of it will go, in the big bank account, not the little one, but the big bank, not the liquid one, but the one that is for stuff. And the rest, the remaining 1/3 of it, I am going to put towards some supplies. I'm thinking about canned goods, non-perishables, toilet paper, that sort of thing, waterproof matches, that sort of thing. I'll make a couple of runs, or I'll have somebody do it. Probably have one of my boys go make a couple of runs to the grocery store with a carefully curated list of things. On the worry, I won't call it an assumption, but the worry that maybe things get really bad in the United States fairly soon in terms of the pandemic. I'm not even talking about the chaos that is going to happen next week. I'm talking just about the pandemic. The pandemic is looking like it's going to run completely out of control in this country. There is no coordinated federal effort, and state efforts are completely hampered. Without the federal government there, this is one of the things the federal government's for. I'm no big fan. But if you have a countrywide problem, you need a countrywide response to it. And local governors are not going to be able to do it. New York City, New York has more money than God, and it was pushed to the limit and beyond by a surge that wasn't as bad as the one we're looking at right now. So I'd kind of like to stock up on some things. I'll probably do that with the remaining bit of that check. And of course, no call to action, but just friendship. I would love to know what you're thinking about when you look towards the fall, especially in your area. Are you in one of the parts of the United States that is just an asymptotic curve straight up of new COVID cases and hospitalizations, and hospitals erecting field tents and spillover venues and arenas and fields and whatnot? Combine that with the normal winter's flu and cold season, and I don't know. And so I thought, just for peace of mind, just in case supply chains are strained, let's say twice as bad as they were in the spring. They were strained pretty bad in the spring, but they held up. But they couldn't have held up if the strain was twice as bad. So I might do that instead. But the point of this particular MegaStuff was supposed to be optimistic, not pessimistic, and that is that I honestly think that the more I build into this machine, I'm nowhere near scratching the limit of its memory. Nowhere near. And every single time that I encounter something where I think, okay, I actually have to move off this machine and open my laptop. Every time I encounter that, instead of belly aching and opening my laptop first, I do a little research into whether or not that is actually possible. Whether or not it's possible for whatever the thing is, can I actually do it on this machine? And I have been amazed at how often the answer to that question turns out to be yes. So as far as my tech use is extremely simple. I don't do art, I don't do editing, I don't do reformatting, I don't do games, I don't do play-alongs or anything like that. As far as my tech goes, this may be the one device to rule them all. So the point of this MegaStuff bit was that I'm happy about that I was directly tempted by Satan with a checky poo and felt no impulse whatsoever to go out and buy, a 10-year-old Chromebook. So, and then in addition to all of that, we've got the mail, and we end in a bunch of boxes. So let's take a look at the mail and see what we have here. Ooh, it's a bee. What have we got here? Oh, fantastic. Okay, great. I don't know if we've seen this on this channel, but I'm glad to have it because I'm going to be reviewing it. This is... Oh, wow. Okay, the pub sheet that came with it is just the second page. I didn't get the actual page of pub sheet with the information. I just got the page with blurbs. That's kind of strange. Might be in that package with the package. I'm not getting it back. So this is by Seb Falk, and this is The Light Ages. The surprising story of medieval science. You can tell right from the title that the author is taking issue with some normal characterizations of the so-called Dark Ages. Let me tell you a little about this. It struck my interest right away. Soaring Gothic cathedrals, violent crusades, the Black Death. These are the dramatic forces that shaped the medieval era. But the so-called Dark Ages also gave us the first universities, eyeglasses, and mechanical clocks, proving that the Middle Ages were home to a vibrant scientific culture. In The Light Ages, Cambridge science historian Seb Falk takes us on an immersive tour of medieval science through the story of one 14th century monk, John of Westwick. From multiplying Roman numerals to navigating by the stars, curing disease, and telling time with an ancient astrolabe, we learn emerging science alongside Westwick, while following the gripping story of the struggles and successes of an ordinary man in a precarious world. I think that sounds fantastic. This is a November release, and I have just off the top of my head completely forgotten who I'm reviewing it for. But I am reviewing it, and I can't wait. All right. Goodness gracious. Oh, well, you got to grab it for you. There we go. All right, what have we got here? Okay, this next one is a paperback original. Is that right? No, this might be a hardcover. Looks like it. What have we got here? Oh, this is going to be a hardcover. It's coming out in March of 2021, so it doesn't interest me at the moment. But this is Growing Up Bank Street, a Greenwich Village memoir by Donna Florio, who grew up in New York City's Bank Street, a 6-block mix of charming colonial brownstones, gritty tenements, factories, and small apartment buildings by the Hudson River. This is her fierce love letter to a quintessential city street and the characters who lived, laughed, cried, and sometimes died there. Fantastic. Fantastic. Okay. Hey, what are you doing, baby? That didn't sound like paper. Shoo. All right, so this is March. It's got a cover blurb from Graydon Carter, but so it's a New York memoir. That's great. Those are sort of a classic subgenre on their own, but it's nothing to concern me in 2020. And let's see what this next one is. Now, baby, this is cardboard. Oh, goodness. Baby, you want cardboard? Oh, yes, you do. Okay, fine. What have we got here? Oh, no. Oh, no. All right, this is April. So this is even further out. So I won't be reading it, but I can guarantee beyond a shadow of a doubt that if I am around and still working in the book trade in 2021, I will certainly be reviewing this. This is by Serhii Ploki, who's I have reviewed him before. He is very, very good. I believe he's also local. Is that right? Is he local? Yes, he is the professor of Ukrainian history and director of the Ukrainian Research Institute at Harvard University. And he lives in Massachusetts. And this is Nuclear Folly, a history of the Cuban Missile Crisis. And there is John F. Kennedy and Nikita Khrushchev on the cover. Let's see here. Nearly 30 years after the end of the Cold War, today's world leaders are abandoning disarmament treaties, building up their nuclear arsenals, and exchanging threats of nuclear strikes. That isn't true. That isn't true. Only 2 world leaders are doing that. Only 2. 2 insane leaders. 2 leaders who are, I'm not talking, oh, you're so crazy. I'm not talking on a comparative measurement. I'm saying 2 world leaders who could not pass a standard cognitive test. They are actually insane. And they're the only 2 people who are doing that. But anyway, to survive this new atomic age, we must return to the lessons of the most dangerous moment in the Cold War, the Cuban Missile Crisis. This book offers an international perspective on the crisis, tracing the torturous decision-making that produced and then resolved it, involving John Kennedy and his advisors, Nikita Khrushchev and Fidel Castro, and their commanders on the ground. More often than not, the Americans and Soviets misread each other, operated under false information, and came perilously close to nuclear catastrophe. Despite these errors, nuclear war was avoided for one central reason: fear. The author masterfully illustrates the drama and anxiety of these tense days and provides a way for us to grapple with the problem posed in our present day. Okay, well, I'm not going to read this. That's a tough thing, because it's going to be really tempting to read this now. But I'm not going to read it until the new year. But when April comes, I am going to be reviewing it. I don't know where. I will do my best. The author of this book may be accepted, and maybe not. I doubt there's many people in the world who know as much about the Cuban Missile Crisis as I do. So this will be a perfect illustration, perfect example of what it's like to review a book like that. You know, I don't know how many of you have ever reviewed books for an editor, but Olive can tell you, and I can certainly tell you that a lot of times the book that you get is something that you have to get up to speed on. A lot of times you don't know the subject at all, much less as well as the author. And that's part of the fun of freelance book reviewing is that you're constantly learning about new things. And then every once in a while, a book will come along that, at least for me, is the exact opposite end of that spectrum, where somebody's written a book about Edward the Sixth or Edward the Seventh or the Boston Massacre or something like that, where or a person where somebody writes a new biography of somebody, and every once in a while I will get a book where I know the subject, where it's not going to be a question of getting up to speed with the author. It's going to be a question of two things. One, does the author make any mistakes? Because I'm not going to need to research anything to know that. This author doesn't make mistakes, so I'm not really going to have to worry about that. And two will be how the author does it. How does the author do it? Which is tremendous fun. That is just tremendous fun. And works. I mean, that if the author does a brilliant, eloquent, interesting, thought-provoking job, then I'm going to forget completely that I have to fact check them. I went through that with Stacy Schiff with her Cleopatra biography. Ahead of time, I thought, okay, well, I will be able to spot errors or stretches that you make, and instead I was just blown away by the sheer virtuosity of how it was done. Same thing will be true here. This author has never failed to please me. So, and once again, at the usual song and dance, if I remember, I will link to any reviews of his work that I have done. I think I've reviewed 2 of his books in the past. I often forget to do that, but look at this. I'm losing all the light in the world. Incredible. Considering how early it is in the day, incredible. We only got the 2 boxes to go, and then we'll be done here. Let's see. This next one is... okay, all right, well... All right, this is a mid-November release. This is another example of what I'm talking about. This is a book about a subject that I know the original sources. I know all of the subsequent writing in 3 different languages. I know this subject as well as the author will know it. So it'll be a question of seeing what kind of a job the author does with all of that material, rather than me saying, oh, didn't know that. And this is by Anthony Barrett. A lot of you will know him. He's a very good classical scholar. And this is Rome is Burning, Nero and the Fire That Ended a Dynasty. Rome is Burning. From the first-rate Roman historian Anthony Barrett comes Rome is Burning, an authoritative history of Rome's great fire that draws on new archaeological evidence. Now, see, I'll zero in right on that, because I might not know that. And that'd be interesting to learn. According to legend, the Roman Emperor Nero set fire to his majestic imperial capital on the night of July 19th, AD 64, and fiddled while the city burned. It's a story that has been told for more than 2 millennia, and it's likely almost none of it is true. Rome is Burning, distinguished in this book, Anthony Barrett sets the record straight, providing a comprehensive and authoritative account of the Great Fire of Rome, its immediate aftermath, and its damaging long-term consequences for the Roman world. Drawing on remarkable new archaeological discoveries and sifting through all the literary evidence, he tells what is known about what actually happened, and argues that the disaster was a turning point in Roman history, one that ultimately led to the fall of Nero and the end of the dynasty that began with Julius Caesar. Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. This might be a bit early, a bit late. It's the date on this is November 10th. This might be a bit late for me to get this placed anywhere, to pitch it around anywhere, but I can certainly review it myself, and I certainly will. Okay, great. Roman history. All right, fantastic. This is an intensely Steve mail haul. When you think about it, it's an intensely Steve mail haul. We have a Middle Ages history. We have a history of the Cuban Missile Crisis. All of my real world friends who are watching this are thinking, oh no! When they saw the Kennedy book, they probably thought, oh, what's next? Ancient Rome. And then it was. We got a book on ancient Rome. And then we've got this box, this last box, and then we'll be done. It's a priority mail box, so it may be from one of you. Publishers tend not to do this. They tend not to send things in these. Oh, it is. It is. This is, oh baby. This is from Mark Richardson. The aforementioned Mark Richardson up in Vermont. Oh, I think I remember. I think I know what this is. I think it's a bunch of goodies. Oh. Yes, it's a bunch of goodies. Oh, yes, indeed. Oh, my. Okay. Oh, bless his heart. Oh, wonderful. Okay, this is a care package from Old Stonebuck up in Vermont. This is comic books and digest science fiction magazines. Two things that Mark and I both love. And his comic book shop is open for business. Mine is too. We actually have the same, it's the same chain. It's Newbury Comics for a wicked good time. The only problem is mine is not on my route. I would have to make a separate trip to go there, just sticking out like a sore thumb. And his is more convenient. So he has been getting me comics that he did. First of all, he got me a year one comic. I remember this from when it came out. Who do we have? It's Barry Kitson artwork, but who do we have for the writing? Mark Waid. And Barry Kitson is the artist, and this is JLA Year 1. Justice League of America Year 1. And this was a 12-issue miniseries that talks about, gives us a sort of new continuity-friendly version of the origin of the Justice League, which in this particular era of DC Comics could not involve Batman or Superman, the way the original Justice League of America origin did. So this is all the other members plus Black Canary. So you have the Flash and Aquaman, the Martian Manhunter, you have Green Lantern, and you have Dinah Lance, Black Canary, who is here made, in this miniseries, made into a founding member. There she is on her motorcycle. It's mildly revisionistic, but I remember it being fairly good. The only thing I didn't like, I think, if I remember correctly, about this first issue and subsequent issues, is that Aquaman is a kind of a gormless, wishy-washy, no pun intended, kind of secondary character. Of course, you wouldn't do that now. Now that he's got $1 billion under his belt in the box office, he would be, a big badass character. But here, I think he's just a guy who can breathe underwater. And I'll have to, it's been a while since, so I haven't read it in a while. Wonderful. So Mark picked up a $1 copy. DC does these. They do these $1 reprints. He picked this up just guessing that it would appeal to me, and it certainly does. And then the real event here, which is the Legion of Superheroes. So we're going to start and finish this MegaStuff video with Legion of Superheroes. This is Brian Michael Bendis is doing a run on Legion of Superheroes. It's not my favorite thing in the world, but I'm getting it anyway, and I've been following it, and this is the latest issue. Wow. Okay. And this cover is classic, a classic callback to old style Legion comics, because it's just all paneled with the different characters: Timberwolf, Mon-El, Chameleon Boy, Saturn Girl, Lightning Lad, Cosmic Boy, Brainiac 5. That's fantastic. Okay, so those are our comics, is the Legion of Superheroes and the Justice League. Great. And then we have two digest science fiction and fantasy periodicals. First one is Fantasy and Science Fiction for September and October. These are a feast. Absolute feast. I'm so grateful. Mark, if you're watching, I'm so grateful. Thank you so much for this. And the other one is Analog. Also November, December. That is just terrific. Just terrific. I will dig right into these. I went through a horrible period of deprivation where I didn't have them, where the stores were closed, and I couldn't figure for the life of me how to subscribe to these things online and get them in the mail. And I think Asimov's, which is the one digest that isn't here, I think Asimov's for a while said on their website, maybe one of you could correct me if I'm wrong about this, but I think for a while they said on their website that they couldn't send print magazines, that they'd stopped only doing the electronic. Now they're all back in stores, and I haven't gone and got. Oh, fantastic. I'm going to consume these. All right, well, there you go. That is your MegaStuff video for today. And once again, it's grotesquely long. So we have science fiction periodicals. That is fantastic. They're a feast. In every one of them, there's at least one story that'll make your hair stand up. It's so good. And then I have the new issue of the Legion and an old issue of JLA number 1. I wonder why. DC always has a reason why they reprint these things. I wonder if what the reason is for this one. And then we have books. We have Nero and the Great Fire of Rome. We have Kennedy and the Cuban Missile Crisis. We have Growing Up Bank Street, a New York memoir. And we have The Light Ages, about all of the stuff that wasn't dark in the Middle Ages. That's fantastic. I plan on reviewing 3 out of 4 of these at least. But anyway, I'm going to wrap this up before it goes to 2 hours. Very sorry. I will say goodbye for now and then clean up the huge mess that Frida has made on the floor of this room. because she's not going to do it for the same reason that dogs always give their owners. I don't have opposable thumbs. Sorry, there's nothing I can do. But I will be back. Thank you, BookTube.